Hello, hello. Hey now, say
Say
now.
now.
Hey, what's up, you guys? This is another episode of Petty on the Rocks.
Oh, what happened? Oh,
What?
sorry, sorry, sorry. I had a weird pop up. I thought it stopped recording on us.
Okay, but yeah, again, this is Petty on the Rocks. I am Erica Jade,
And I'm Bird or VTA, whatever you want to call me.
and today's episode is "Fuck is going on Friday." Like fuck is going on? Like what the fuck is going on? So, I wanted to talk about a couple of things, and they aren't the best things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to talk about them because they need to be talked about. And we're going to learn lessons from all of these things. So one of the things that really bothered my spirit was this article about the Detroit mother facing a slew of charges, basically because she killed the son, a 3-year-old. No, I'm sorry. Is this okay? Detroit mother facing slew of charges, and this was Baller Alert's caption. But Detroit mother facing slew of charges after blind 3-year-old son was found in the freezer. Okay, okay. So in this particular situation, I'm gonna read from this article. It says a Detroit mother is facing charges in the gruesome death of her 3-year-old son, who was found dead inside a freezer. On Friday, Child Protective Services employees were contacted by an individual concerned about the children of, her name is Azura D. France. Azuri, I don't know how to say it, but we're gonna call her France. As a result, 3 police officers responded to France's home. While speaking with officers, France acted oddly and was eager for officers to leave. They remained in the house, and during an encounter, the officers located the body of toddler. His name was Chase, Chayce. Chase, am I saying that right?
Yeah, that sounds right. That's all right.
Okay.
That's Chase.
Allen decomposing inside a freezer in the home's basement. The child had gone blind a year earlier. France had a history of child abuse. When Allen was just 2 months old, he was sent to live with his aunt after his mother lost custody of her 6 children. Okay, I'm gonna just stop there. Why this really, really bothered me is because if first of all, we all know children start out innocent. They didn't
Yep.
ask to be here. They don't deserve to go through half, if not all of the shit they end up going through, unless
Right.
they're born with a silver spoon in their mouth, which majority of us aren't. And when I say us aren't, we were all children. And I know what it's like. There's a difference between discipline. There's a difference between abuse. Clearly, this was abuse. Where the system failed and why this is triggering, because a child lost their life. A child was placed back into the home of a person that was
Clearly
known.
unfit.
Yes. And it brings me back to the time I went to court for my children. Mind you, I've been absent for over 5 years, technically, have not had them in my custody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to court, now mind you, the grandmom don't like me. She wants to keep the kids. Dad don't like me. He wants to keep the kids. When we're in court, the judge basically just didn't give a fuck about what I had to say. All he kept mentioning or noticing is the kids were not with me. But that does not mean I was not attempting or at all present in their lives. I've been kept away from my children. So
Right.
this is not even about that. This is about the abuse part. So, longer story short, my baby father has anger issues. If you look in his background, you will see that he has a lot of domestic
Wow.
violence cases. So, typically, when a person is violent, they're not just violent to one individual, one being. Now, I didn't know my child was going through or could have been going through what I was told eventually. But as we're fighting for the children in court, the mom who doesn't want me to have them basically was like, she just don't want him to have them because She does not feel that the children are safe in his possession. That's his mother saying that, right?
Right.
After the court case, my lawyer gives me the number of the dad that my baby father was dating his daughter at the time. I
Mm.
talked to this man for an hour. I was told that my son was being thrown into a wall. I was told that, and this isn't the first time I heard this either,
Oh.
because my baby father's other baby mom reached out to me before that, years before that. And she also said that he beats on my son or our son, and that because that's what cowards do. When they cannot express their anger and their lack of, they take it out on whoever is around them.
Mm-hmm.
And from the bottom of my heart, it hurts me because I physically, financially couldn't do shit about it. But how do you think a person feels hearing that their child is being abused? Now, I know it's not to this extent. I do not feel that the grandmother would allow that. But the fact that y'all still would want him to have custody, and the only thing y'all can say is y'all just don't like the way I am. Y'all just don't like me. Because I wasn't even into prostitution before my children, when my children was in my possession. So, or anything, honestly, but other than being a freaking young adult. And that's not the point. The point is, it's fucked up and the system failed. And coming from a person that knows what it feel like to feel like, wow. So you're just saying, hey, he has a record of beating on women, but we're still going to give him the kids because we just feel that he's had them for the longest time. Mind you, the grandmother and the grandfather have been taking care of my children. Every
Mm.
time that the grandchildren talk to my mother, they're at whose house? The grandmom's. The grandmom is the reason they have health care. The grandmom's the reason they go to decent schools. The grandmom's the reason for everything. So even though I don't like that lady, she don't like me, and she has spoken foul to on me in front of my children, about me in front of my children, I still appreciate her for doing the best that she could do,
Right.
for at least attempting to give them a good upbringing. Well, not necessarily healthy, but as good as I guess he could, because children need their parents regardless, unless they're in this situation where they don't need to meet that person so they can defend themselves at this point.
Yeah.
Because that boy was 3 years old, 3 years old and blind. And he went blind, I want to say they said a couple years before this happened. So he was 3. So I'm assuming when he was 1.
Right.
And it's sad. It's so sad. This young man, this baby lost his life because his mom was a nut. And the system failed him because they allowed her to continue having this child in custody. And if you want to be honest, I feel like the family failed as well. Wow. But you know what? I'm sorry. I take that back. I'm just speaking out of anger. I'm sorry. That's not true, because sometimes it is totally out of your hands when it comes to these courts and these people. And if you want my opinion, half the time they don't give a fuck about the well-being of the child,
Nope. They're just trying to prove a point.
basically.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you ask me, a white man should not be able to tell a black family how they should conduct themselves, because that judge that was in my hearing, my that situation, he didn't give a fuck. He clearly looked as if he didn't give a fuck. And what type of person, where I have evidence of my baby father being blatantly disrespectful? He literally got out of jail a day before we went to court for beating his other baby mom. There's a hour long, fucking damn near an hour long, not an hour long, I'm sorry, that was our conversation, but there was a whole person vouching alongside his parents that he's violent, or that he hits the children, or at least my son. And you're telling me that you still couldn't find it in your heart anywhere to, okay. So I don't even know. My brain just went to a fucking fucked up ass place. But I just feel bad. And I just would, anybody, if you hear anything or if you know anything, there's a man, look, there's
There's
there's been, all I can say is just, please, like, children, they don't deserve that. And ultimately, that if they don't die when they're in those type of situations, it definitely traumatizes them. And then they walk around as traumatized adults. Half the
Mm-hmm.
time, people that beat on people were beat on, if you look at it. Or it's a mental thing. So either way it goes, there should be some type of evaluation. Like I feel like parents should be like having children. When you first have children, I feel it's mandatory to have should take parenting classes. I feel like it's mandatory to take classes that teach ultimate ways to discipline a child other than putting your hands on them. Because what did slave owners used to do? Put their
Yeah.
hands on people who didn't do what they want. Like there's no I just don't believe in beating kids. And if you would have asked me this 13 years ago, I'd have looked at you and told you, yeah, the fuck right. But as a person who used to get beatings, as a person who has seen the effects of a child who gets beatings, including my own, that is uncalled for. It's
Mm-hmm.
unnecessary. So when you get to the point of death, you're out of there. You shouldn't even be considered human. If you could fucking kill a child, like what the I can't even my thoughts aren't even articulating correctly. I'm sorry. I apologize, y'all, because it's just a lot. I didn't mean to stir up the pot of my own inside shit going on, but it's
But
just
you
like,
know,
damn,
shit. Yeah, hey man. Hey man. Say
like that
man.
shit's so fucked up. That shit's fucked up. Like seriously. And it's like that child was defenseless, 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to go out like that. And it's like a person who he literally it literally could have been prevented. But I don't think the system, as we all know, give a fuck about black children. Period. That judge, he don't give a fuck that my child may or may not, or for what being beat on by his dad, who clearly has a record of beating females. He doesn't
Right.
care because it's not his child. It's not his motherfucking daughter. Because I talked to my ex boyfriend, my baby father's. I don't know if you still go with the bitch because she's stupid. Because bitch, why the fuck would you not? Why? Why? Literally, okay. So fast forward. Long story short, I'm assuming it's the young lady I met at my daughter's birthday party when they were being semi-civil. And
Mm-hmm.
long story short, I talked to her dad for a whole fucking hour. He told my baby father smokes synthetic weed. He told me his daughter gets beat up and her checks get taken, and my son is being hit on and thrown against the wall when he's angry. I have called I have called for a wellness check. I got even more scrutinized and my kids got more detained from me. Um it's a whole story. I could give y'all the rundown one day, one episode, maybe one virtual story time. I don't fucking know. This is really not about my case. It's really about this particular child and children like him.
Right.
Like, are you serious? Like, I just don't understand. But longer story short, so my point is that white judge didn't give a fuck because if someone, my heartstrings would have been done unless I told or he had proof, like I was strung out on drugs, I was an endangerment for my children, I was a neglectful mother to the point of, she's not capable, she's not fit. Then I could see where he went with what he did, but it was like, how can you in your heart hear the grandmother, I'm sorry, of the motherfucking son that wants the children? You got text messages of all the disrespect and fucked up shit he's texted me, literally, unprovoked. And you still said, you know what? And then like all the proof, like he doesn't even keep them. They live with the grandmom. The grandmom and them lie about where they live at, so they go to a decent school. All this was brought up in court, and the judge still did not give a fuck.
Mm.
Not to mention, my lawyer was a fucking paid paralegal, so he wasn't even like a full lawyer. That nigga was trash. That shit just still bugs me to this day. Shout out to my little people. I love y'all so much, despite what anybody says, what anybody has said. And I apologize for not being strong enough to do what I had to do to get you guys sooner. I apologize for not being strong enough to fight harder, knowing what I know and hearing what I heard, because my mom would have never went out like that. So I feel bad, but I also know that they're living a more refined life with the grandparents despite the negativity and the unhealthy connection